Back on the Put on Raiders podcast, myself, Dwayne Douglas, Ryan Holmes, and Harry Ruiz. He is, of course, one of the play-by-play voices of the Las Vegas Raiders. How you doing today, Harry?
Doing great. Thanks for the invite. I really appreciate you guys having me on.
No problem. So, what is I guess the biggest thing, because I always get people ask us the same question: how did we start our show? How did we start everything going? How did you decide that you want to do this TV sports thing? It's not easy to get into. It's easy to probably just get into as far as on the ground level. I used to be a PA at ESPN, so you can get in that way. But to get on camera and get on the radio, get on the TV doing play by play for an NFL team, how do you start how do you start? Since some folks want to know that.
So I've always loved sports. Sports have always been my thing. Being from LA, I've always been a huge Dodgers, Lakers, Raiders fan, USC fan. So LA is my thing, and I love the LA squads. And in LA, you got every sport imaginable. And even though we didn't have the Raiders for much, they are the team from Los Angeles. So everybody in East LA, we got a crazy uncle who's a Raider fan, and that's how the tradition was passed on to me. And I've always said it would be awesome to do sports on TV, but I never thought it would be possible. And me living in Mexico when I was growing up, I was like, all right, I had a business when I was going to college, and one day I got an invite to a radio station because I said, you guys are great talking about soccer. But when you talk about football, baseball, and basketball, you aren't that great. So that's how my career started, just from me listening to a radio show, getting an invite, and them liking my style. Then one of the bosses there called me and said, hey, I got you a casting call for a TV station. And they liked me. They gave me an internship. And 3 months later, I was a full-time employee. And nearly 15 years later, here I am now doing play-by-play and color analyst for the Las Vegas Raiders, which are my favorite NFL team, obviously.
Yeah, that's crazy. Who's growing up? I think everybody has their favorite Raider. Do you have a favorite Raider?
I mean, I got to see the good times with Rich Gannon. I love Rich Gannon. I love Tim Brown, and being able to meet them has been amazing. But I came back from Mexico in 2010. And my first Raider game in person was in San Diego, in South Oakland. And I got to see the Raiders stop their streak of 8 games in a row without winning down there. So it was great seeing Darren McFadden. I bought that Darren McFadden jersey, and I actually got him to sign it a couple of years ago out here in Vegas. So I got to go with Rich Gannon, my first one, but Darren McFadden, my most recent one.
Do you find that a lot of being from LA, I mean, it's a short trip to LV, right? So do you find a lot of fans are, when you meet some of the fans out there, that they're from Los Angeles, and is there a contingent that comes from Oakland as well to watch the Raiders? And
absolutely. So once I moved out of LA and I was on my own and working in El Paso and doing the TV gig out there and doing play-by-play also for UTEP football and basketball on the college level, I had my own money. So I started going to Oakland to games and met a lot of people up in Oakland. And a lot of people from those days in the town are now coming to Vegas to the games. And I go out to the tailgates every single game. And I've been able to meet a lot of folks, both from LA, from Oakland, from the East Coast, from Mexico. It's amazing. The majority are from LA and from Oakland, but I also get to meet a lot of people from different sides of the states, but also internationally. I got to meet folks from Costa Rica, from Mexico, from South America, from Europe, and the Raider Nation. We're strong everywhere we go.
Yeah. Your touchdown call, real quick, is that part of, I love it, by the way. But
thank you.
Do you get it? Does it influence from football or from football?
Honestly, I don't think so.
Okay.
In my opinion, I subconsciously, and even from my time when I started calling football in El Paso with the University of Texas at El Paso, I did that touchdown call, but I never I think it might have been influenced a little bit by Greg Papa. I mean, for a lot of us, those were the touchdown calls that we loved listening, that every time you heard the passion in them. So maybe the football, the soccer side that you hear is the passion, the going a little overboard. But at the same time, I'm like, this is how I feel. A lot of people say that they feel the passion from my calls. And I'm like, it's real. I mean, I get excited when the Raiders score a touchdown, when they get an interception. And at the same time, like on Sunday, when the Chiefs scored tons of touchdowns against us, I'm not yelling, touchdown, name of the team. I'm like, no, I was like, hey, they get into the back of the end zone, touchdown Chiefs. They take the lead 7-0. But for them, they don't get those passionate calls. The Raiders, they get passion and then a little bit extra more.
Is there before I turn you over to Ryan, is there a favorite since you've been here, since been calling the games for the Raiders? Is there a most memorable touchdown that you just call that just like kind of stands out? Like it was a good call, plus it was like just a great play.
So it's not a touchdown, but it was a play that got the team back into rhythm. That safety against the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah. That's nice.
I was actually like on the call. I was like, great pump by AJ Cole. They put Miami in their own 5-yard line. The safety would be great here for the Raiders because if they do, they get on the scoreboard, they get the ball back, blah, blah, blah. And then next play, safety. I'm like, great. It finally happened. And I got that call. That was before my first touchdown call at Allegiant Stadium. So that was great because against the Ravens, they scored all the points. I call the first and the third quarters. The Raiders scored against them on the second and fourth. So I'm like, give me something to get excited about here. Unfortunately, I got excited with that safety. So memorable, that one right there.
That's cool. Right.
Yeah, I'd say, I was at that Ravens game. I'm a season ticket holder as well. Los Angeles. I was a season ticket holder in Oakland. So traveling back and forth from LA to Vegas is something I do. Not a lot of action in the first quarters at home games at Allegiant for you to call touchdowns, but I want to talk about the Super Bowl. Big announcement today that Las Vegas will be hosting the Super Bowl in 2024. You're a resident of Las Vegas now, correct? So what's the importance of Super Bowl coming to the city of Las Vegas? What's the vibe like today with that announcement? And do you get to go as an announcer with the Raiders? Do you have a way to get in, or you get a press pass or anything?
So for the last question, I hope so. I hope that somehow, some way I end up calling the game, and hopefully that means that the Raiders are playing the Super Bowl. It was great. I was there at the announcement today at Allegiant Stadium when Governor Sisolak and some of the members from the board of the Super Bowl committee were up there as well. And it was amazing for the city of Las Vegas to last year finally getting a commercial in the TV broadcast to now knowing that in 26 months they're going to host a game. It shows the growth of the city. And I remember being here in Vegas. I moved in March 2017. The Golden Knights hadn't even started playing. They still didn't have a pro soccer team in the second division as they do in Oakland now with the Oakland Roots. The only thing sports related they used to have in Vegas in March 2017 were UNLV and the AAA baseball team, the Las Vegas 51s, and now the Las Vegas Aviators. Since then, the sports boom has hit incredibly. And now Vegas isn't only the entertainment capital of the world, it's the sports and entertainment capital of the world. And the Super Bowl is just a cherry on top. It's showing you that Vegas is going to do big things sports related. And the Raiders are a big part of that situation in Las Vegas.
Yeah, even as a Raiders fan, I forgot the draft's there next year. We kind of overlook it because they moved it to Cleveland, but you got the NFL draft coming to Vegas next April. So that's another big event. They're probably going to get a Major League Sports baseball team. I would be shocked if they didn't have a basketball team in the next 5 years. So
MLS is coming too. The commissioner said that they're coming. So it's like every sports now.
Yeah.
Before they used to stay away from Vegas. Now they only want to be in Vegas.
I want to shift to the focus to the field. Saturday, going to Cleveland on the road, cold weather, bad conditions. We don't know what it's going to look like for the Browns because of all the COVID. But what is kind of the feeling? You watch all these games. Going into this, do you think the Raiders have a real shot to win out here and try to get to 10-7 and make a playoff push?
I always say I always want them to focus on this next game, because if they start looking into the next against the Broncos and against the Colts and against the Chargers, then they lose focus of this game that's coming up, which is the most important one. And these last two went from it would be great to win them to now having this game out in Cleveland to be a must-win game. Now there's no excuses. This is a must-win. If you don't win in Cleveland, you might as well say goodbye to all your possibilities of making the playoffs, because right now they're one game away from the last playoff spot in the AFC. So the team, do I expect them to win? I don't know what to expect from this team, because sometimes we get great performances and sometimes we get the worst. So I'm just hoping that we see passion out of them, that we see them first off taking care of the ball, because against Kansas, after the first snap, you were behind the 8 ball and you weren't going nowhere. So take care of the ball, try to move the ball. And we go back to last year. They ran the ball very, very well. Josh Jacobs had over 30 carries, over 100 yards, and the team won that way. But we have seen very few, I think 3 games of 100 plus rushing yards for the Raiders as a team. I'm not even saying Josh Jacobs, but as a team. So if we can be able to somehow run the ball, it will help the team. But what to expect? I'll say expect the unexpected, because I got no clue what I'm waiting for on Saturday. I'm hoping to win.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I was talking to Dwayne earlier. I kind of expect Peyton Barber to get involved here this week and just pounding ground. Give him the ball 15 times. Give Josh Jacobs 15. Give him 30 carries between the two of them and see what you can do. Because right now, it's literally hike the ball. Where's Winfrey? Throw it to him 4 to 5 yards down the field. Hopefully he breaks some tackles. Doesn't look like Darren Waller's going to play this week. So they're just going to have to be committed to the run and just keep doing it. And hopefully the weather conditions allow this to be a low-scoring game. Hopefully the defense can get the ball back. And then with weather and wind, the kicking game might be, all over the place. So hopefully they can get back and run the ball. But the offensive regression from last year, this was a top 10 offense. And, being there, what do you think some of the main issues are on the offense that's holding them back right now?
I mean, for starters, when we saw the offensive line get a little bit better was when the team was doing a great job on the field and giving DC time to throw the ball. But now that we've seen them regress and start taking steps back, that's when we've seen the team struggle in mighty fashion. So it all starts with that offensive line. If the guys can't protect both Derek Carr and open up spaces, holes for the running backs, it's going to be super difficult to make plays. And also, you saw the video from this last game. Hunter Renfrow was the only wide receiver getting separation from the defenders. So the wide receivers need to do a better job as well. I know that once you're missing Darren Waller, that gives freedom for the secondary of our opposing teams. So you got to step it up a notch and do a better job that way. So the offense, I mean, you look at the stats and when you talk about passing offense, the team's still third place. I know it's because of a lot of production in the wins, but at the same time, you see the running game, one of the worst in the league, I think 29th, but total offense, number 9. The only spots where the Raiders are top 5 in the league right now is passing game with third place. So the team needs to protect DC. If you protect DC, you have a chance at winning games. If you don't, it's going to be a game like Kansas.
Yeah, I almost expect, at times they should keep a 6th offensive lineman in like they did it when Bill Musgrave was around in 2016. Do everything you can right now to give him time. Because this week against Kansas City, like you said, I do all 22 breakdowns on my Twitter account. This was the worst game I've seen the offensive line play all year. But I don't want to give the defense a pass either. There's kind of been a regression since the bye. They can't get off the field on 3rd down. They're terrible in the red zone. They're doing enough to get the ball back, giving the offense enough opportunities. But, as far as takeaways, they're in the bottom 5 in the league. As far as sacks, they're in the bottom 10. So while the defense is better than it was last year, it just hasn't been able to create enough havoc to get the other team in longer down and distances and get the ball back. So what are your thoughts on the defense?
Yeah, this defense, so for starters, it's better than last year's, but it's not a great defense. They didn't build this defense for it to be the identity of the team, that we're going to win games because of how our defense is playing. It's a bend, don't break defense. We're going to get a 3 and out here and there, and hopefully that gives an extra possession to our offense and they can get points off of it, and it gives us a better chance to win games. But at the end of the day, it's the defense that's going to get get burned here and there. And we've seen occasions where Denzel Perryman against the run, he's a great player, but against the pass, he's a liability there. So there's also a reason why the Raiders only got him for a pick swap instead of having to pay him $10 million a year. And now he's under contract for next year, and hopefully he keeps delivering for the Raiders. But we need someone next to him that's great against the passing game as well. Hopefully Divine Diablo develops into being that player. But to support your point, I agree, Ryan. It's difficult for this defense to be the reason why the Raiders win. And that's the hard thing right now. If the offense isn't producing, this team doesn't have an identity. You go and you face a team like Cleveland, and they're going to win you games here and there because of their defense. But you know that their identity is the running game. It's incredible. Jarvis Landry scored his first touchdown. Yeah, but he rushed for 2 first in the season, and his receiving touchdown last week was the first one of the season. I'm like, how does that happen? Well, because you run the ball with your 2 horses, with Hunt and Chubb, and then you let everything else develop. But this Raiders team doesn't have an identity. And I don't remember when the last time that our defense was our identity. So this is why this 2021 defense, we're like, hey, you know what? It's been way better than what we've seen in the past decade, in my opinion.
Yeah, one last question for you. What's your favorite away city and stadium you've been to, and the best restaurant you've eaten at on the road, just so I can make some notes?
So I did tons of trips when I worked with UTEP. With the college level, they would take us to every road game. We didn't call any games off of a monitor, but being out here in Vegas last year, we had to call every game off of a monitor except one. The Broncos game here in Vegas was the only one that we had a booth in the stadium. And then this year, we're not traveling for road games. So when it comes to college football, I'll give an unconventional answer. Hattiesburg, Mississippi, the home of Southern Mississippi.
Really?
Brett Favre's alma mater, and Ray Guy's alma mater as well. Mama Letha's, the best barbecue I've ever had. I recommend that place a lot. That place. I don't eat a lot, but that place I go and I get a huge combo and eat half of it there at the restaurant, and the next morning, believe it or not, that's my breakfast.
Yeah,
that's Jalen Richard. Went to
Jalen Richard as well. Exactly. Yeah, I got to call one of his games. Latavius Murray, when he was with UCF, I got to call one of his games as a senior as well. So Conference USA, a little bit underrated, but keep those guys on the lookout. And I called, like, when I was in college with UTEP, calling their games, Aaron Jones with the Green Bay Packers from El Paso. Will Hernandez, left guard for the New York Giants. He got drafted in the 2nd round a couple of years ago. I got a call with some of his games. So shout out to Conference USA. Mama Letha's, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I love that.
There you go. Gotta make them a sponsor for the podcast. That sounds good.
Right?
It sounds good. My mouth is watering thinking about it. But I do like the concept of, you go to a restaurant and there's so much food that you can't finish it. You have it for breakfast the next day. That always makes sense. That's always a good thing.
And I'm not a breakfast person that I got to have a yogurt or a cereal or fruit or anything. I'm like, whatever food is available, I'll eat. So barbecue for breakfast, I'm down.
That makes sense. Harry Ruiz from the Raiders here. We're kind of wrapping up with him. You mentioned Divine Diablo is and some of the rookies here, but as far as turning the season around, what is the biggest key to turning the season around? And then we'll let you go on that one, because I know they still have a mathematical chance of making the playoffs. Big. I mean, so you never know what happens around the league. So you could be out of it. You could be 12th, and you could be 7th within one Sunday. What were your thoughts about the biggest biggest thing they have to do to kind of get right the ship here and get things going for the Las Vegas Raiders?
Offense. They need to get back on track and being able to do what we know they can do. And before the season, I said, one of the reasons the Raiders are going to be better this year is because the offense, they're basically all back together besides the offensive line. I had high hopes with Leatherwood, with James, I love Denzel Good. I thought he was going to be huge for us. And unfortunately, the injury bug hit him right on game one, on week one. So that was a big loss. And then Richie Incognito in the preseason, that hurt us a lot. That's something that people don't remember. That, yeah, the offensive line got hurt because we let go of Rodney Hudson and Gabe Jackson and half a season Trent Brown. He left as well. But at the same time, the Raiders had a different offensive line in mind. And in week 2, they were already with a completely different offensive line. So if the O-line can protect DC, if they can open holes for the running backs and get some traction going, keep possession of the ball and score. This is the most important part. Score when you have the ball. Do it like you did in Dallas. You didn't score touchdowns every single time. You scored 3 touchdowns. And those 5 field goals by Daniel Carlson ended up being the difference in the game. Get the points when you have a chance at getting them. And hopefully we can see the Raiders in the opponent's side of the field more often than we did in Kansas City, where it didn't happen until after the 2-minute warning.
One other quick question. If the weather becomes a factor and it gets sloppy, what do you think about Marcus Mariota getting in there and get the running game going if you need to? If there's no chance you're going to throw the ball, if it's windy and sloppy and everything is, screens or 4-yard curl routes, is this a week where maybe we see, maybe 15 or 20 snaps from Mariota?
I think that would be a fantastic idea. And in my opinion, Kevin Stefanski, with the situation he's in right now, without his top wideout, without his tight end, without his starting quarterback, you got to think that he might have a game plan in mind to copy what New England did against Buffalo on Monday Night Football and be like, hey, you know what? We're going to run the ball 56 times and see how that works. Mm-hmm. And the Raiders, we know they've been vulnerable to the running game. So now they got to respond somehow, some way and be like, all right, let's bring in the jack of all trades, Marcus Mariota, see what he can bring to the table and do some run pass options and see some direct snaps that he runs the ball. And that has to be in the mind of the team right now, especially in a game like Cleveland, where you don't know what to expect from their side offensively because they've lost so many weapons because of the COVID restrictions.
Yeah, and as Al Davis said, just win, baby. Whatever it takes this week, find a way. They have to stay alive.
Stay alive. Know what?
I want to see sacks. I want to see big plays from our defense. I want to see – I love Max Crosby. He's one of my favorite players. But I want to see him stop that streak of, what is it now, 7 straight games without a sack, and he's only had sacks in 2 games this season. I want him to have a huge game out there in Ohio and show the world that he deserves a huge extension. Yeah. And hopefully the team gives it to him.
Yeah, I no question about it. I mean, listen, it'd be nice to see a cup, just get me getting one holding call on Max right? Because Max is getting a little bit. You get held just a little bit this season, a little bit.
He's getting the Khalil Mack treatment now.
I mean, seriously. I mean, some of them it's really bad. All right, Harry, thank you for joining us here on the Put On Raiders podcast. We really appreciate it. Let the fans know where they can find you on social media.
Absolutely. On Twitter, it's at Harry Ruiz, HARRYRUIZ. On Instagram, it's Harry_Ruiz. And if someone out here speaks Spanish and they want to follow the Raiders news in Spanish, I got multiple sites at La Nacion Raider on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I have a weekly stream there every Thursday. We go for like 2.5 hours interacting with the fans from all over the world that speak Spanish. They want Spanish content. The team ain't giving it to them. So I'm like, you know what? It's time to put up or shut up and show them that the Latino fans deserve to have content in their language.
Before we go, can I get the Deshaun Jackson touchdown? One more call real quick?
Absolutely.
Let's go. I gotta hear. I love it.
Derek Carr en formación escopeta, toma el balón, lanza el pase profundo con Deshaun Jackson, es completo, de la 20 a la 15, a la 10, a la 5, touchdown Raiders! Raiders. G-Jacks, bienvenido a Las Vegas. Touchdown de los malosos.
You know, nothing sounds better than touchdown Raiders. So hopefully this weekend you get to call a couple of those this weekend. I appreciate
want tons of them. But at the end of the day, I'm like Hunter Renfrow in DC when they say, look, as long as the team wins, I don't care how many touchdowns I get to call, but just win, baby. Get that dub and keep us alive.
No question about it. And just for before we go, Zion Branch just committed to USC. So let's continue to fight on. All right.
Yes, sir. All right. Let's go.
Take care. Take care. Have a great day, man. We'll listen to you on Saturday.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Harry.